Welcome to Poetry Lockdown, day 53. I am presenting a poem by a poet whose work I really admire, Dana Gioia, his poem Prayer. Just a little bit about Dana Gioia and why his work and advocacy for poetry has been important for me. So as a teacher of high school English, I have my students, as I think I've said before on this, memorize poetry and then present it to the class. They talk about why this poem has been so personally meaningful to them. Well, Dana Gioia actually created a federally funded program through the NEA called Poetry Out Loud that started state and then national competitions where students choose poems that mean something to them and then they recite them. And I've had students compete in those for 2 years now. They found the competitions incredibly meaningful. So just a big shout out to not only Dana's work as a poet, but also just as an advocate for poetry. It's extremely meaningful, the work that he's done. This poem I definitely meant to be in conversation with the poem that I recited yesterday. So if you tuned in yesterday, I read What the Living Do, just a really beautiful poem that Marie Howe wrote to honor her brother who passed away from AIDS. And this poem also that Dana Gioia wrote is honoring someone who passed away. So his infant son died of sudden infant death syndrome, and Dana Gioia wrote this poem. So I'm going to read the poem because I don't think there's anything else that I could say that will do justice to this situation more than that. So this poem is called Prayer, right? And it is addressed, I believe, to God. Prayer by Dana Gioia. Echo of the clock tower, footstep in the alleyway, sweep of the wind sifting the leaves. Jeweler of the spider web, connoisseur of autumn's opulence, blade of lightning harvesting the sky. Keeper of the small gate, choreographer of entrances and exits, midnight whisper traveling the wires. Seducer, healer, deity, or thief, I will see you soon enough. In the shadow of the rainfall, in the brief violet darkening a sunset. But until then, I pray watch over him as a mountain guards its covert oar and the harsh falcon its flightless young. Well, I actually cannot get through reading that poem without tearing up. It's a beautiful, beautiful poem. And I think one of the things that moves me about this poem is just the way that that the grief of the poet opens up to this intimate, direct address to God. I think, I've talked a lot about sort of shifts or turning points in the poem, and lots of people locate those in different places in the poems they love. For me, that shift or turning point happens the moment when the poet is saying, seducer, healer, deity, or thief, and there's this wild range of options for God, right? And maybe all of those things at once. And I think part of what this poem does is it opens up the range of emotions, the way that grief opens a person up to a whole wide range of emotions. So that's just a little comment from me. It's a beautiful poem and it's short, and I think I'm going to read it one more time. Before I do that, though, I want to point out that there is an exceptionally beautiful musical version of this. Dana Gioia has collaborated with composer Morton Lordson, I think on more than one occasion. But I linked you to a choral version that is exquisite. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So check it out after listening to this reading because you're gonna love it. All right, thank you, Dana Gioia, for your work as an advocate of poetry and for this beautiful poem. Prayer by Dana Gioia. Echo of the clock tower, footstep in the alleyway, sweep of the wind sifting the leaves. Jeweler of the spider web, connoisseur of autumn's opulence, blade of lightning, harvesting the sky. Keeper of the small gate, choreographer of entrances and exits, midnight whisper traveling the wires. Seducer, healer, deity, or thief, I will see you soon enough. In the shadow of the rainfall, in the brief violet darkening a sunset. But until then, I pray watch over him, as a mountain guards its covert ore, and the harsh falcon its flightless young. Thank you, Dana Gioia, and thank you all for tuning in.